technology, but we're going to have a couple of just kind of some thoughts. We're not going to have a large number of people speak, but I'm going to walk through some thoughts and comments that I would like to have you reflect on. I think represent my wife, your friend, your mother, your daughter, your sister, and your sister. And then I'm going to ask the kids to come up and they'll share some thoughts with you. And then Jay, with that, I just want to start by thanking everybody. This is a life well lived. We spent the last 6 weeks up in Vermont. We did a lot of reflection. We had a great time with the kids. We were able to see some great vistas. We had a number of different interactions of old friends, new friends, all different walks of life. As you know, Tracey had a very broad set of friends and a very broad, interesting life. We both did. But it was largely because of her spirit. So for all of you, I want to say thank you for supporting us. Not just in the last 2 years. It's been a tough 2 years for sure. But it's really about a lifetime. It's a lifetime of friends and kindness and love, and we really appreciate that. But we're here to celebrate. We're here to celebrate a beautiful woman. Somebody who always loved more than she was loved. She was a gift from God. So I want to start with some qualities. I have my outline kind of broken up in a couple of areas. But these are qualities, and I started to reflect on what do I want to say. Out of time. And I challenge you, or at least I think if I bring up almost to the person a number of these adjectives, it will trigger some thought, some experience, some moment that you had with Tracey. So I'm going to start with that. Tracey was a bright light in this world. She brought people together. Now she loved her family. Warm-hearted, welcoming, thoughtful, kind, generous, curious, good listener, sensitive, appreciative, grace, poise, loving, family, friends, happy, mischievous. There's some stories behind that. Gentle, outward focused, eloquent, genuine, beautiful, positive. So I want to kind of move to a couple other things. I kept coming back to, I keep feeling like I could tell stories forever. But there's a couple that just kind of like to me just jump out of my mind that I think just embody who I think of when I think of Tracey. So the first one is an experience we had in Vermont a couple years ago. You guys know we love to go to Vermont, we love to eat. So when it was just Tracey and I, we'd always go to these different restaurants up there. We park ourselves at a bar and we order whatever, and a lot of great places up there. So one night we were at the Green Mountain Inn, which is, if you don't know Vermont, it's a great old historic inn. And we're sitting there just having dinner, we're at dinner, and as Tracey normally does, there's a older couple right next to us. They got their meals first. She leans over and she goes, that looks good. What is it? Yada, yada, yada. 60 minutes later, they had numerous stories that they had shared. They had convinced themselves that they were related to each other. And dinner ended, as it often did, with them trading contact information, and hugs all around. For folks that we had just met and were perfect strangers 60 minutes earlier. That's Tracey. My second story was when we first got the news that Tracey had been diagnosed with glaucoma. We had to spend the night at Northside Hospital. And it's a tough night. Tracey couldn't speak. For those of you who know, she went in, that was her first symptom. But they admitted her. They had all kinds of specialists coming in throughout the night, from the evening into the morning. But Tracey always kind of seemed to focus on the underappreciated people around her. So the nurse staff, for 3 shifts that cared for Tracey, was just remarkable. So she couldn't speak, but yet at the end of each shift, she knew every nurse's full life story. She was hugging, getting contact numbers, and promising to get together very soon, sensing a theme. The last story is when we went to Emory, when we first started our treatment after she had come back from surgery. We were at Emory for 8 weeks daily radiation, and Tracey, again, just kind of had an eye for, the underappreciated. So whether it was the nursing staff, whether it was the administrative staff, whether it was the parking attendant, all of them knew Tracey. They called her Miss Tracey. And it was always with her. It was always with a tone and an understanding of kindness. At the end of our radiation treatment, Tracey, I swear I don't know how many bags of coffee were made in my house over the years, but she made 12 bags of coffee and she brought it down to each one of those people, including the parking attendant, and she gave them out. And every one of them, I think, was just very appreciative of who she is. So the last story, just, my point being is that she looked out for the underappreciated. She reached out. So as much as we care, there's a whole body of people out there that knew her, were touched by her, that we didn't really even know. But I'm sure if we were to rewind the memory banks of those people, they would be able to remember who she was. Okay, so a couple of what I'll call Tracey-isms. These are just little things that the kids will recognize because we talked about it when we were out in Vermont for many weeks now. But it's kind of the way she chose to live her life. If there's 2 ways to look at something, choose the positive. I think she said this more to me than anybody else. Listen more than we talk. Think about what might be going on in the other person's life. Turn right is faster. Eat Brussels sprouts for breakfast. It was really kind of just amazing. I mean, when we started putting together our thoughts, I had those syllables. I was getting information and texts and carrying bridge notes and emails and all kinds of things. So I had to kind of pull all that together. And my first draft of this, I sent it off to Andrew and Mona, and I said, "What do you think?" And they said, "Well, it's really great, except you have way too many comments." It's like 5 pages of comments. So this is not the full abbreviated or the full unadulterated version of the comments that we got. But it's a sense of what you all thought of her and what we know. So I'm just going to read them in no particular order. Just bear with me. When I think of Tracey, I remember a gentle, kind soul who lived life and loved, and lots of life. I will always think of Tracey as eloquent, kind, loving, generous, courageous, and thoughtful. The world was better for Tracey's existence. Tracey was simply the best, kind, loving, happy, and a true friend. I am blessed to have crossed the path of life with her. There are no words to express how much Tracey will be missed. God's loving arms have received one of the most beautiful souls I know. Tracey was such a delightful light in our world, always a sunny smile and a genuine sweet spirit. Tracey embraced and kindled the best in everyone. Her life was one of loving and giving, true compassion for all. Tracey lived a yoga philosophy, that of connecting and radiating way beyond herself. I will treasure every moment we have with her, remember the wonderful laugh and each I know that she said over all these years. I think Tracey was one of the most loved persons I've known, and she loved all back. Tracey was the most beautiful person
works at everyone's table place, but my mom would go and get my fork, knowing that I preferred the small one, and exchange it. I always count on her to share a crepe or a chocolate ice cream or an apple pie. She loved traditions. For New Year's Eve, she would make the black-eyed peas and whatever that disgusting meal is. No one else would eat it, but she made it every year, looking for good luck. She loved holidays more than anything. Still to this day, she would be getting us Christmas pajamas from Santa, waiting at the fireplace when we got back from Mass. Her complained once. She had a strong fight or flight instinct. That was due to her leaning heavily on God and her faith and having trust in His plan. She was too much of an angel for earth, and God needed her home sooner than we would have liked. But I find peace in knowing that she is healthy and happy in heaven. I cannot wait to see her again. I find peace in knowing that I will always have her with me. I'll never forget what she taught me and the mark she made here on earth. Love you always, Mom.
hard seeing how many people were in the room when you're sitting in the front row. It's hard to figure out what to say. Tracey was our firstborn, as you all know, and I couldn't have conjured up a better firstborn. She set a great example for John and Cindy and for her parents. And some of you may know I had mumps when I was 22. I didn't know I had a child. God gave you three of the best. Tracey looked too soon. And now, John, you're the older brother, and Cindy's the older sister. And I want you to know that your mother and I are going to be here for you, no matter where we go, no matter where we move, no matter what's happening. We're not planning that move. Other people make those plans, you know, we move to the nursing home. But Tracey set a great example. You learn from other people, you learn from friends, you learn from children. And she was a great teacher. And John and Cindy couldn't have had a better big sister, and we couldn't have had a better first child. So you two are now in charge, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure that we give you as much love. This is not the way it's supposed to happen, by the way. You're not supposed to lose a child before you pass on. You know, I don't intend to go anywhere soon. You never know when it's going to happen. But God's been very good. Ruth and I are going to have our 58th wedding anniversary coming up in a few days. And we thought Tracey might still be around for that, or for casting a vote for the president on election day, her birthday. So Mom and I are glad we could make it here. We're proud of Tracey and John and Cindy. We're proud of Chris. And we're thrilled at the outpouring of love that we've seen from all of Tracey's friends, and including my other grandchildren who are here, Tracey's kids, will still be Tracey's kids. And I'm glad that we were able to get the whole family together for an event of this magnitude. So God bless you all, and stay in touch. I just like to thank you.
Hard to follow all this, there's a lot of emotion, but I'm gonna try to muddle through a bit. I think most of you know me, but I'm Tracey's sister, Cindy, 5.5 years younger, but she never made me feel like that pesky younger sister. She always made me feel pretty darn special, just like everybody else. So, you know, she never made me feel like that kind of outcast that so many people do with the younger sister. The closest thing is that John would refer to the years before I was born as the good old days. I just have so many memories of when we were, you know, younger and sitting in a room and letting me sit there listening to Supertramp together and just hanging out while she was doing her homework. As everybody said, she was literally the best. Anybody who knew Tracey couldn't think of her without thinking of her laugh. She loved to laugh and to share anything that she thought was funny. So she would share a meme a lot. New comedian, new show, anything that she found funny. My brother's one of her greatest sources for making her laugh. So some people have this misconception that before brain cancer, she just had this perfect life, never had any challenges, faced any hardships. And she actually had a lot, but as many people have said already, she went through life with such a positive attitude and always chose to look at the bright side. So she, people just didn't know that she had so many things that she had to deal with. And as was alluded to already, she dealt with her brain cancer the exact same way. And one of her favorite expressions was always, "It could be worse." Sometimes we struggled to figure out how it could be worse. And then we would all start laughing and she'd be like, yeah, well, maybe not this time, but most of the time. So I had the very great fortune to live just a few miles away from Tracey, Chris, and the kids for 9 years. So very thankful for that time. I had both my boys at Northside Hospital. Tracey loved every part of being an aunt. I was so grateful to have her as a resource in those early years. And then as we got older, that age got faded, and we talked on the phone every day. She was my person. She knew everything about everything in my life. Sometimes you talk about really serious things, sometimes you talk about nothing. And anybody that knows Tracey, this next thing is not going to come as a surprise, that most of our conversations started with, oh, I'm on my way to Publix. Oh, I'm at Publix. Oh, I'm just leaving Publix. And I was like, gosh, as thin as she is, most of our conversations revolved around food, recipes, and I love that Lauren also shares that with me. So Lauren and I will be doing a lot of recipe trading in the years to come. I moved back to Pennsylvania in 2001, but even after that, she always made a point of making sure that we got together. So whether it was Holden Beach, Yardley, Stowe, Cayman, here in Atlanta, Ocean Gate, we just tried to make the most of every time we could be together if we weren't living near each other. She managed to make it to all the most important things. She got there for John's 55th, my dad's 80th, our Martell cousin weekend in New York, Florida trip to see our cousin Corey, graduations, 4th of July. She and Chris even took a trip out to Colorado after she was diagnosed. So grateful for that. And Tracey has so many friends. I don't think any of us quite understood how many until the news was out and messages were pouring in from everywhere. The words have been used and repeated throughout today: kind, non-judgmental, patient, calm. She was all of those things and so much more. I could just go on and on. I know we're all feeling a great loss, but I do feel Tracey with us pretty much every minute of every day. I see her God winks, which is now our family expression. Whenever I hear a Supertramp song, anytime I see the numbers 3, 5, or 13, whether it's a special recipe that I knew she'd like, every time I hear a thunderstorm, see the snowfall, it all reminds me. So I asked both of my kids to just share a memory about their aunt. Jay said it was the early mornings with his aunt. So he's an early riser with me, like his aunt. Just getting up because aunt and Norma are not necessarily the early risers and having that time with his aunt. And then Nick said that he will always remember how happy Aunt Tracey was at both of his kids' weddings. And it's true. she was glowing at both of them. So I just want to say a special thank you to Chris and Lord. You're such a big character. It was so hard being so far away. And knowing that you guys were all there with us. Made it seem like it was going to be okay. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you, Tracy. I'll see you again one day.
Follow that up. Thank you all for being here. Really means a lot. Work is good. For those of you who don't know me, I am Uncle Dave. Chris is my brother. This is brother-in-law, who I refer to my third sister. I'm going to wing the first part of this because that's how I roll. And my wife was kind enough to we're not like I was speaking to a college friend of mine 2 days ago, and she asked, "When did you meet Tracy?" And I got to thinking, and it was almost the exact same age that my twins are now, almost 40 years ago. And that led me to think, there hasn't been a significant event other than my adult life. Tracy is not part of it. It's not better than worse. But that kind of contribution to a life, I met Tracy when I was 17 years old. At the time, I was just going to Chris Lane, no problem. And then shortly afterwards, we started, Tracy was there to stay. And then when Chris announced that he and Tracy were getting married, my selfish teenage years, I was like, wait a minute. Tracy's breaking up the band. And I have shared all of these thoughts and and she told me, not in so many words, but I really didn't want to break up the band. I just wanted to be guitar player. Gosh, there's so many things I can say about Tracy. A couple of anecdotes that I will share with you. Tracy and Chris had probably been married 16 years at the time, and I fell in love with a young woman. And Chris and Tracy invited my wife, Liz, and I to join them for a holiday in Narragansett. I thought to myself, they had never met. I thought to myself, there's only two people in this world that really care and impress who I thought to be my wife. That was my mother and Tracy. Her opinion and just incredible guidance was so important to me. The cynic in me found that the word or term altruism had fallen out of favor. I just didn't believe. Tracy renewed that.
gave so much and expected so little. The kindness that poured out of the woman's heart is truly remarkable. I don't think you have to look much further than her two children to see what Tracey contributed to this world. Andrew and Laura embody both mom and dad's, I'll speak to Chris first, wisdom, drive, and then there's Tracey, who understood, truly understood what love, unconditional love. I've been blessed to have Tracey in my life. My wife, well, I feel like my children's exposure to someone is so hard. I will miss her more than you can ever imagine. Anyway, I'm going to read you something that my wife wrote up. I think it's fairly poignant in the sense that it kind of captures a lot of Tracey's essence. Innocence, that's the best way to describe it. For those that knew or didn't know, Tracey had an affinity for butterflies. So that's kind of the theme that I'm speaking to now. This is a quote from a poet. Last name is Tagore. But the quote is, "The butterfly counts not months, but moments, and that it has time enough." Well, we all so very much wish Tracey could have been with us longer. Her life was so full of moments. And moments are what make up a life, not time. The moments we share with her parents, the moments she shared with her parents, that first smile, that first step, those many hugs over the years. The moments she shared with her siblings, the whispers, the giggles, and the secrets. The moment that Chrissy and Tracey first saw each other. The moment that they knew the other was the one. The moment she looked in her eyes and said, "I do," and heard him in return. The moment she felt that first flutter that was Andrew, and then Laura. The moment she sent each on their first days of school, on their first days in college. The moment she met their wolves and locked them too. So many moments in between. So it was on the beach, sunny skies, falling snow, Christmas mornings, New Year's Eve, 4th of July fireworks, giving of thanks, and moments of quiet peace that come from a happy home. both where she came from and that she made. While we wish for more, Tracey had so full life, had I and I. Butterfly lights beside, a butterfly lights beside us like a sunbeam, and for a brief moment, its glory and beauty belong to our world. But then it flies again. Now we wish it could have stayed. We feel lucky to have seen it.
Just a couple of things. We're gonna get a little slideshow in case we're together a little show. But first of all, I want to just come back to thank you all. You've been a big part of our lives, and we really appreciate it. I do want to kind of remind you tomorrow, those of you who care to join us at Transfiguration Catholic Church. We will have a service from 2 to 3. There will be a burial and then Arlington Memorial afterwards, and then at about 5:15, 5:30 at our house, and we welcome all of you to come. We'll have a reception, and we'd love to see you there. So again, thank you so much for your love. Thank you so much for being a part of our lives, and we're going to celebrate like well lived. Thank you.
Such a sun, burn itself into my mind. Do you ever really know? Can you ever really know? You say the sun doesn't shine for you. I hope you learn that that's not true. In time, when you're gone again, just as long again. I know you might know I'm trying all the time. There's something I know I can see in your eyes. That's what I'm saying, it's all so again. I'm looking all the woman I know. How sweet needed the shelter of someone's arms. There you were. Needed someone to understand my ups and downs. There you were. With me love and devotion, deeply touching my emotion. I want to stop. Thank you, baby. I want to stop. Thank you, baby. Yes, I do. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Feel so fine. How sweet it is to be loved by you. I close my eyes at night, wondering where would I be without you in my life. Everything I get was just a bore. Everywhere I've been seems I've been there before. You tried it for me all my days. Oh, so sweet, so many ways. I wanna stop. Thank you, baby. I just wanna stop. Thank you, baby. Oh, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Just like sugar sometimes. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Oh, yeah. You're better to me than I was to myself. For me, it's just you, and there ain't nobody else. I wanna stop. Thank you, baby. I just wanna stop. Thank you, baby. Oh, yes, how sweet it is to be loved by you. How sweet it is to be loved by you. Oh, now, how sweet it is to be loved by you. It's like jelly, baby. Oh, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Just like things to be. How sweet it is to be loved by you. That I can't linger in the way we are.
to work on my IT department.